So it's too windy out here for me to put my Pocket 3 on a tripod like I wanted for this. I like to take photos of liminal spaces, places where people should be but aren't. And I think that's it. I think that's my 365th day of photography.
Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Chris. I'm a photographer out of Denver, Colorado, and I have been doing a 365-day project. I am pretty excited about this video because this video represents me finishing that project. I planned it this way. Our leap year gave us an extra day in 2024, and so hopefully this is going live on December 31st, 2024, and I have finished my project. Well, I have finished my project. I really can't believe I did it. I really can't describe how I feel when I scroll through day one. That's a journaling app that I use. And when I'm looking at it in calendar view, if you've attached media to a certain day, so a video or a picture, it will show in the thumbnail of the square, of the calendar. So it's really fun to scroll through my entire 2024 calendar and see a picture in every single day. The accomplishment is great, and I'm really happy that I did it. But there were some other things that I really picked up that I want to share with you now. So let's get into it. The top 5 things that I've learned with my 365-day project. Okay, number 1, there's always a photo. And what I mean by that is no matter where you are or what you're doing or what your mood is or any of those things, there's a photo. There's a photo that you can get. And at first, I really didn't think so. I thought the mundane photos of the lawn chair on the lawn with shadows was a fairly boring photo. But over the course of the year, I did start to notice that the way light hits things, the way the shadows would draw out, depending on the time of year, where the sun was in the sky coming through a window, it didn't require that I go out and take these epic shots. There were times where I took photos right here in the house, noticing how light was hitting a certain object in my kitchen and taking a photo of it. Throughout the course of the year, what I would say is even photos you've taken will look different at different times of the year. Plus, there's like different colors at different times of year. So a coffee cup on the table can look very different depending on when and how you take it. There's always a photo. That is definitely something that I feel that I've learned over the course of this year. The second thing that I learned is that this is for me. When I go out and I take photos, it is really for me. As much as my friends and family enjoy seeing my journey here, as much as social media is nice to be able to share and have people, like my stuff, the truth is no one really cares about my photography except for me. I'm the one who cares about this stuff. That realization really started to sink in as this project went on. In fact, at the very beginning of the project, this was my very first photo that I took on January 1, 2024. But when I took it on January 1, I thought, well, I took a photo on January 1. Maybe I can do a 365. And a couple of quotes from my journal. The thought scares me. And let's say I have my doubts. And the reason I had those doubts was, what if I get sick? What if I don't feel it? What if I'm just not in the mood to take a photo? What if something bad happens? All of those things happened in 2024. But each one of those days where things were at their toughest, I managed to get out. And the reason I got out was not for vanity. The only social media website that knew every single photo I was posting was Glass. Every other site, I just kind of posted here and there. I sometimes put the numbers, I sometimes didn't, but Glass is where I actually kept a record of me doing it. Posted some days where I didn't get many comments at all, if any. And that was fine. The truth is, I realized during the year that I think social media is great. I think it's amazing that we get to share. I think it's amazing that people can see my work and I can see other people's work, and we can, give each other high fives, and everybody knows the level of effort somebody put into a photo. And that's really, really fun to do. It's really great to have a social network like that and know that other people know what you did to get your photo. But I could live without it. I recognize that my photography does not require a social aspect to it. And it's because this is for me. So yeah, that's why I do it. The third thing that I learned is that the settings on my camera really don't matter, especially for a project like this. What I started to recognize was, I was in all manual mode. I was, trying to control the light. I wanted my photos to look more moody. All of that can be accomplished in post. I really started to focus on the composition, and I stopped leaning so hard on trying to know my settings. I'm proud of myself that I know my settings. I'm proud of myself that I know manual, but I didn't need to. There's autofocus, there's auto shutter, auto ISO. I didn't need to worry about those things. And that just kind of happened naturally. As I'm going through the course of the year, I started to notice that, I really like Fujifilm's color negative simulation. Once I discovered that I really like that color film sim, I just stopped playing with film sims. I stopped playing with film recipes, all of that stuff. I just shot with color or classic neg, and then I would color grade from there. And that made my life so much easier. So I only had one color profile that I'd use, or one black and white, which is Acros. And shooting that way just became super easy for me. I would just, be looking for the subject. I would be out, I would be doing something, and I would just take the shots. I would frame them as best I could. And then when I got back, I would control the light, in post, in Lightroom. I would go in and make my edits to make it look the way I want it to look. So that was really freeing, was understanding that I didn't need to have all the settings constantly being tweaked to get every photo, to get my photos, to get the photos to start to look more uniform. Actually, a lot of the settings were on auto. And even then, there were days where I just put everything on auto, and I would just shoot straight auto because I had classic neg. And that's all I cared about, was at least the colors were right. And if I got my composition right, my colors are right, everything else I can work with. So the settings really aren't a big deal. And I'm glad that I learned that. I'm glad that I learned how to do it. And I'm glad I learned how to let it go. I can do it if I need to do it. If I need to take over the camera and really take control of a scene, great. But I don't need to do that most of the time. So that's the third thing that I discovered. And the fourth thing I learned, and this one was really, really important, I think, the times you don't feel like going out are usually the times you need it the most.
More built up in your head how hard it's going to be than if you just get out there. And I've been out here in some pretty cold, nasty weather, rain, thunderstorms, snowstorms, and every single time it's worth it. Every time, I never come home from a photo shoot, a photo walk, a photo drive, a photo whatever, and think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Never. Every single time I get home, I'm so proud of myself for getting out there.
I really find that very fascinating, because it's on those days where I discovered that whatever negative feeling I was feeling prior to going out, it vanishes. And what I'm left with is just excitement about the photography. And that excitement goes through my core. Getting out there is super important on the days you really don't want to get out there. And just the feeling I would get from overcoming my desire to stay home was worth everything. And on some of those days I really didn't want to go out, I got some of my best photos. Some of my best, most favorite photos of the entire year were taken when I was not in the mood to go out. And I think that's fascinating. That just really shows the power of doing something that you love. I know that one's the toughest. That one's the one that I think most people struggle with. And you sit there and you say to yourself, there's nothing to shoot, there's nowhere to go. And I know that feeling, but the 365 was a reason. It was a propulsion to get me out. It was the rocket fuel I needed to go, well, I've committed to this thing and I have to do it. So I did it. That's definitely something I learned this year. And then, of course, The last final thing that I learned, and I've already stated it a million times in this little video here, and that is I love doing this. I mean, I love it. I love it so much it affects my mood. You know, what this really has done for me is it's opened up my world. You know, I realize now that there was so much of Colorado that I wasn't seeing. I was so stuck in the rut of living my day-to-day that I was only going to this place or only going to that place when I would go take photos. And I recognized that there's a lot more city than downtown, and there's a lot of mountains and a lot of eastern plains and really beautiful scenes. And there are scenes all over this state that are gorgeous. And I know that it may seem like, well, yeah, you're lucky you live in Colorado, but I feel like you could probably find the beauty anywhere you live. You need to discover it, and that's what the 365 did for me. So it's really just solidified and made whole this idea that I am a photographer. The big takeaway from all of this is the 365-day project was just this sort of like constant nudge for me to get out. I mean, I went out and I took my camera with me everywhere. I had it all the time. I would take it with me to Home Depot. I would take it with me everywhere. And now I know how to do that. The 365 project gave me the reason to do it, and now I don't think I need another 365 to do it anymore. I feel like I'm a daily photographer at this point. So those are the 5 things. There's always a photo. This is for me. The settings don't matter. The times you don't feel like going out are probably when you should go out. And I love doing this. So that's it. That's my big takeaway of doing a 365-day project. I hope that you might think of doing some project for yourself, because I think it's one of the best ways to really kickstart going from hobbyist to more serious photographer, is giving yourself projects. So please let me know in the comments below if you've done a 365, or if you're interested in a 365, or if you've done any other kind of projects that you would recommend to anyone watching this video. I would love to hear more about other projects I might consider doing. If you like this, please remember to give it a like, a thumbs up. That always helps the channel grow. And of course, if you want to subscribe, I'd love it. Anyway, I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.